What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning this weekend's world title fight at 168 pounds between the world champion Armando Resendiz and the challenger Jaime Munguia. Guys, before we continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, could you please remember to hit subscribe right now, like this video, and pin in the comment section below is a link to allow you to join our world famous Johnny Says Boxing VIP betting Discord. Become a JSB insider now. It's a couple bucks a month. You get all my picks, all my parlays, insider information, but more importantly, you get to become part of our growing professional betting community. Click that link to find out more. All right, guys, this week is stacked with big fights, world title fights. If you've been playing along, been paying attention to the channel, you know about what's going on in Japan with Inoue and Nakatani. You know about this card. We already featured the main event between David Benavidez and Gilbert Zurdo Ramirez. But in this video, what we're going to do is break down another world title fight at 168 pounds between the newly minted full world champion Armando Toro Resendiz taking on Jaime Munguia. The last time you saw Jaime Munguia, he was on a redemption tour. We know about Munguia's style. We know about that record. And he has a few blemishes on that record. One of them was to Canelo, but one of them was an upset of the year sort of loss. Shocking in his hometown in Mexico, in which the undefeated Bruno Sirache entered enemy territories and was down on the cards in literally every moment of the fight except one. And he knocked out Munguia with one punch. Times had passed. Munguia called for the rematch. He ends up going to the Middle East to rematch Sirache and won a decision. That was last May. This is his next fight. In his opponent, we're talking about Armando Resendiz, a guy who's been known to come in as an underdog. We know he's coached by Coach Manny Robles. He recently fought last May as well against Caleb Plant, a fight in which he went into this fight as a plus 600 dog. That fight was a parlay killer on my books. I remember that like it was yesterday. I don't know anybody, at least in my ethos, who took Armando Resendiz. He went against the odds and showed his nickname well. They call him Toro for a reason. He outworked, outpunched, outbullied, and out-operated Caleb Plant, the heavily favorited Caleb Plant, to win that fight. And then months later, due to what happened at 168 with Bud Crawford becoming the undisputed champion, winning all the belts from Canelo, and then retiring, belts were vacant, and Armando Resendiz was elevated. And fast forward to this weekend, we are going to have Armando Resendiz's first defense of that world title fight. So in this video, what we're going to do is go over both fighters' careers. We're going to talk a little bit about how they go about their business. And like always, stay tuned to the end of the video. That's where I'll be going over the current Las Vegas odds, and I'll be giving you my prediction, telling you where to put your money. Guys, this is an all-Mexican firefight on Cinco de Mayo weekend. I've been super excited about this fight since it got scheduled. I like both guys. Jaime Munguia is a guy who was known for this incredible record. People would question his opponents, an inflated record per se, and he'd get into decent fights, he'd fight some good opponents, and he kept winning. Some of his wins were questionable decisions, but he can't control what the scorecards or the judges write on those scorecards. We did see as he was leveling up, those knockouts started disappearing. He had one of these records with a high knockout to win ratio until he started leveling up, and this happens a lot in boxing. I personally never held that against him. Munguia is a guy who is always going to come in shape. He's big for the division. He's come up from lower weight classes. This fight's at 168. And I like how he was operating against Sirache in the second fight. The first fight that didn't go his way, it was a mental lapse. He had Sirache on the ropes. Sirache was a counterpuncher, didn't throw a lot of volume. I think the entire fight, Sirache, up until the knockout, had only landed roughly around 50 punches, and one punch landing right on the button stopped Munguia. Munguia was there flat on his back in the canvas in Mexico, and the pictures went viral of all the guys ringside in shock. I was in shock. I think everybody else was as well, considering Sirache going to that fight, I think, had under 5 professional knockouts. So nobody was really seeing that. Puts his hand up, says he wants to get the get back, gets the get back later on in that year, and here we are. Resendiz also has kind of a head scratcher knockout loss, similar to Jaime Munguia. A couple years back, he got stopped against Elijah Garcia, a punch that landed right on the button. And since then, he's been perfect. He lost a fight early on in his career, but since he's linked up with Coach Manny Robles, we've seen a lot of good things from him. This is kind of like an X factor. We talked about it in the Brandon Figueroa Nick Ball fight, another Manny Robles coach fighter, in which you see these guys go in as underdogs, and with the game plan, the execution, and more importantly, in my opinion, coming from a coach myself, the trust between a fighter and a coach. You could watch Resendiz against Plant mid-exchange, listening and being connected to Coach Manny, taking instructions in the pocket, angling, throwing to the body, working the head, and operating in the firefight, which is a really unique skill to be able to do when the lights are on and in the firefight, taking advice from the coach and applying it. And this is exactly the connection Robles and Resendiz has. It's going to be an interesting fight. Resendiz is going into this fight as an underdog. Both guys are known as volume punchers. In recent form, I'd have to say Munguia's statistics are decreasing. You could Google that. You could look it up. He used to average around 70 punches per round. That has recently decreased below 55 to 60. And Resendiz is a guy in his most recent form is actually elevating. His most recent fights, he's averaging closer to 70 punches thrown per round. So keep that in mind. Right now, I do want to take a closer look at the challenger, Jaime Munguia, and see what he's been up to in his career. Guys, Jaime Munguia is 45-2. Of his 45 wins, 35 of them come by way of knockout. Of his 2 losses, he's been stopped once. Out of 1,770 fighters in the world at 168, he's ranked number 7. He's fought a career total of 239 pro rounds and carries into the ring a 78% career knockout to win ratio. The 29-year-old Mexican is a 6-foot orthodox fighter with a 72-inch reach. He was born and raised and lives in Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. We last saw him fight Bruno Sirache the second time, 26-0-2, won a UD in the 12th. Bruno Sirache the first time, 25-0-2, he got knocked out in the 6th. Eric Bazignan, 32-0, stopped him in the 10th. Canelo, 60-2, he lost a decision in the 12th. John Ryder, 32-6, he stopped him in the 9th. And the fight before that, he fought Sergey Derevyanchenko, a tough night out for anybody. Since he started leveling up, they have been pairing him appropriately, in my opinion. The recent version of Munguia, considering his style, pressure forward, volume, he gets hit a lot, doesn't really like moving his head. His footwork isn't that great. His jab is decent. Munguia has gotten by with his grit and durability and just his willingness to be in a firefight and his determination to win these fights. That alone is why I've always been a fan of Munguia. I haven't been one of these guys that hate on Munguia, and going into fight week, I have been torn, literally 50-50 up until an hour of making this video. I've done all my film study as usual. I did a bunch of polls on my Instagram and in our Discord, which I'll show you the stats in a little bit. And Jaime Munguia's best days, are they behind him? Are they in front of him? Will he level up? That version against Sirache the first time, is that a sign of things to come? Getting hit with one punch by a guy who's not really a puncher and getting stopped? Now, we know Resendiz could punch, and we know he's going to be much more dangerous than Bruno Sirache. Both guys have similar styles. I feel that this is going to be meat in the middle, and who will start to fade? Who will be the one to push the other one back? Neither guy really likes to box off the back foot, so I feel the advantage will go to the guy who could win the center exchanges and force their opponent to punch off of the back foot. That should be one of the most interesting storylines throughout the fight for you guys to pay attention to. Right now, let's look at the champion, Armando Resendiz, and see what he's been up to in his career. Guys, Armando Resendiz is 16-2. Of his 16 wins, 11 of them come by way of knockout. Of his 2 losses, he got stopped once. Out of 1,770 fighters in the world at super middleweight, he's ranked number 22. He's fought a career total of 101 pro rounds and carries in the ring a 69% career knockout to win ratio. His adoring fans know him as Toro, and the 27-year-old Mexican is a 5'10" orthodox fighter with a 69-inch reach. He was born in Guayabitos, Nayarit, Mexico, but calls Southgate, California, USA home. We last saw him fight Caleb Plant, 23-2, won a split decision in the 12th. Politza, 5-2, stopped him in the 5th. Elijah Garcia, 15-0, he got stopped in the 8th. Jared Hurd, 24-2, he stopped him in the 10th. In the fight before that, he won via second round knockout against Herbert Rondon. Armando Resendiz, I think about a 27-year-old kid who's still figuring his style up. They call him Toro for a reason. That's something that you could expect if you've never seen him fight. He's going to be in your face. He's going to rely on his pressure. He's going to trust in his gas tank, trust in his strength and conditioning, and know that he's fit enough to continue this fast-paced style throughout an entire fight. We watched him go up against a much bigger Caleb Plant and execute this style perfectly. Jaime Munguia will not be as big as Caleb Plant was, and if you look in prior fights, especially early on in Resendiz's career, he's fought up all the way over 180. He took a handful of fights at 174, but even early on in his BoxRec days, he weighed in at 185 in a fight. The reason why I say that is he's more muscle bound. It's very rare that you could see these guys who carry more muscle but has the engine to equal it, and he's one of these guys. I love his coach. I love his corner. I love the game plans. Over the last few years, I've won a lot of money on Coach Manny Robles fighters coming in as underdogs. Multiple times over the last few years, starting back with Andy Ruiz beating Anthony Joshua. We know about the Rafa Espinoza fight, the first fight against Robesi Ramirez. I already talked about the Brandon Figueroa fight against Nick Ball, and Armando's last fight, a plus 600 against Caleb, and Resendiz won. So you know he has a team that's prepared. You know the game plan is going to be ready. And I expect Resendiz to add to what we saw in the version against Plant. When we think about his opponent Munguia, we have to think this is the style. He is leveled up. And with that style, has he degraded? Some people will say yes, some people will say no. Only time will tell come fight night. It makes for a very intriguing matchup. Right now, I do want to take a closer look at the Las Vegas odds, but before we do that, I do live streams every day. I take your questions. All the JSB insiders are in those live streams. I feature these questions, and it's a live chat in which we go over our props, our parlays, our underdogs of the week, UFC bets. In these Stats Don't Lie videos, you're only going to get my money line prediction. All right, guys, wherever you are in the world, let's pull out our betting apps. Currently, the A side, the world champion Armando Resendiz is the underdog. You put $100 on Resendiz, you get your money back plus 155. So not quite a 2-to-1, but a plus money dog. Jaime Munguia is the favorite. You put 100 on Munguia, you get your money back plus $58. Guys, I recently did a poll on my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, search Johnny Stofko. Just say, hey, Jay, it's so-and-so from YouTube. I'll give you a follow back. Over 2,500 people voted on this fighter poll when I asked who wins. 64% of you guys said Jaime Munguia is going to win versus 36% of you taking Armando Resendiz. When I think about what has pulled me into going to the direction of who I'm going to take, I think about this punch stats that we talked about. Munguia is showing signs of slowing down, not punching as much. Armando Resendiz is showing signs of leveling up at this stage of his career. He's a little bit younger. I think he's a little bit more fresh, it's safe to say. Neither guy is a finished product, but I feel Resendiz is the one adding levels and layers to the game. You mix that with the coaching corners. We know that Jaime Munguia recently joined forces with Eddie Reynosa, and we know about the story between Armando Resendiz and Coach Manny Robles. When I think about the odds and you're giving me the world champion, a kid at 27 who's confident, who's learning how to use his strengths to his advantage, going in once again as the underdog, but he's the champion, you can never speak enough about the confidence that that belt gives you around your waist. I'm going to go with, you know what time it is, boys. We're putting the hat on. We're going dog hunting. The swindler is back. I'm taking Armando Resendiz at plus 155. You give me him at plus money. I think the time is now, and it's a perfect time to catch Jaime Munguia. I don't think that Munguia is the same guy he was 3 years ago, and I don't think that he's going to get any better. I think Toro is going to bully him. We saw signs of him bullying a bigger man in Caleb Plant, and I think it's going to be business as usual. This is a very contentious fight, both in my Discord and online, and this is not an echo chamber. So in the comment section below, right now, leave the receipts. Who you going with, Armando Resendiz or Jaime Munguia? Also, guys, stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't seen my breakdown, analysis, and prediction of the main event on this card between David Benavidez and Zurdo Ramirez, stay tuned because that's coming up right now.
Zurdo Ramirez is the current cruiserweight champion of the world. He's the first in the history of Mexican boxing to accomplish that goal.
We've been thinking of the same combinations for a long, long time. To see what are good ways to enter, exit, and land combinations at the same time. At the end of the day, you're dodging punches all day. You're trying to land the best punches. You're trying to make the highest possible decisions in your head. And the fight.
What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning this weekend's world title fight at cruiserweight between the world champion Zurdo Ramirez and the challenger David Benavidez. Before I continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, could you please remember to hit subscribe? Could you like this video? Also pinned in the comments section below is a link to become a Johnny Says Boxing VIP Insider. With this membership, you get access to our world famous JSB Insider professional betting Discord. Click the link below to find out more. All right, guys, this weekend is massive in boxing. The fights actually start tonight in Australia. If you're catching this video today, it is Wednesday, April 29th in Sydney, Australia. The fights are headlined by Sky Nicholson. Jake Wiley is on that card. There's also a sneaky little firefight between Andrew Hunt and Ben Hussein. But in this video, what we're going to be doing is talking about the exciting world title fight at cruiserweight between Zurdo lefty Gilberto Ramirez and the challenger David Benavidez. This fight is going to be an example of Benavidez moving up yet again to another new weight class, taking on the tough, durable, gritty, and a guy who just knows how to win in Zurdo Ramirez. So in this video, what we're going to do is break down both fighters' careers. We're going to talk a little bit about how they go about their business. And like always, stay tuned to the end of the video. That's where I'll be going over the current Las Vegas odds, and I'll be giving you my prediction and telling you where to put your money. David Benavidez is one of these fighters with a massive following. We've kind of watched him grow up on screen. When you think about David Benavidez, everybody has seen that video when he was overweight teenager in the gym with his father and his older brother, and he just looked like a young teen who was trying to lose weight. But the one thing about that video, he's wearing the red hoodie, you guys have seen it before, is the hand speed was always there. Remove the baby fat, and what we have now is a 29-year-old who is undefeated, multiple division world champion, and once again he is daring to be great. We last saw him at light heavyweight, a fight in which he stopped Anthony Yarde. Most people remember his performances at super middleweight and then his fights with David Morrell, Vosdick. Each fight for David Benavidez is a test. This is a guy who people have a lot of high hopes for him. Some people already have him in their top 10 pound for pound list. When you see him fight, you're going to see world-class hand speed. You're going to see combinations. You're going to see relentless power. But in my opinion, David Benavidez's best attribute are the things you can't measure. His heart, his willingness to put himself in danger, and his belief in himself to know that when that bell rings, he is going to have his hand raised. In his opponent, Zurdo, this is a big, durable, left-handed fighter. This is a guy who's cut his teeth now at cruiserweight. We know he started at 168, but that seems many moons ago. The 34-year-old will be turning 35 in June. The guy has one loss on his record, but Zurdo's never been knocked down, never been dropped. We've seen him quote-unquote wobbled before, but by no means have we ever seen him in serious danger. The fight with David Benavidez will give Zurdo an opportunity to remind his naysayers about how crafty he is as a boxer, how high his ring IQ is. He's not going to have the quickest hands, but he has decent footwork, and he's been in there with all sorts of fighters. And a guy who's coming up in recent years from 168 and making his first fight at cruiser, you'd have to think that Zurdo Ramirez is pretty confident in his skill set and his experience in the weight class to get the job done. Right now, I do want to take a closer look at the challenger, David Benavidez, and see what he's been up to in his career. David Benavidez is 31-0 with 25 knockouts out of 1,932 fighters in the world at light heavyweight. Remember, this fight's a cruiser. He's ranked number 1. He's fought a career total of 167 pro rounds and carries in the ring an 81% career knockout to win ratio. He is the WBC World Light Heavyweight Champion. His adoring fans know him as the Monster. And the 29-year-old American is a 6'2" orthodox fighter with a 74-inch reach. He was born in Phoenix, Arizona, USA, but calls Miami, Florida, USA home. We last saw him fight Anthony Yarde, 27-3, stopped him in the 7th. David Morrell, 11-0, won a UD in the 12th. Vosdick, 20-0, won a UD in the 12th. Bubu Andrade, 30-0, stopped him in the 6th. Caleb Plant, 22-1, won a UD in the 12th. It was only a few years ago that David Benavidez was a guy, every time you'd see him, he was calling out Canelo Alvarez. He was calling out Canelo. He wanted that big fight at 168. And some would even say he waited around, boiled himself down a little bit too long to get that Canelo fight. We know that fight never took place, and Benavidez has been on record stating that he made a decision at a point a few years ago to create his own legacy, to move on from that opportunity to fight Canelo, and that's exactly what he's done. Since his days at 68, we've watched him move up to light heavyweight. He went 3-0 there. His best performance was his last performance, and the confidence that he took in stopping a big, durable, tough Anthony Yarde, he was like, you know what, it's time to move on once again. He's making his claim at cruiserweight. Ultimately, you'd have to think that he's looking for a massive fight if he could get past Zurdo with Jai Apataya. Politics aside, I know everybody in my atmosphere wants to see the Jai Apataya fight. If you're unaware of what I'm talking about, look into the contract negotiations and the disputes with Zuffa Boxing and all of the belt promotions with what's going on with Apataya. But what we're talking about here is a Benavidez who's going to come out prepared. You got to expect that pressure. You got to expect that volume. You got to expect him to jump out early. The hesitations I am concerned with him in this fight is the fact that it is a new division. He is moving up. A lot of the boys in the Discord are thinking he's just going to go in and steamroll Zurdo. This is a big dude. This is a guy who's comfortable at 200 pounds, and this is a guy in Zurdo who's never been stopped. I think it's going to get interesting the later this fight goes. I think Zurdo Ramirez is going to force David Benavidez to answer some questions about his fight IQ, about his game planning, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. How's he moving around with that bigger body in front of him? And will the power continue to carry up a weight class? We know his first few fights at light heavyweight, the power really wasn't there. And then the last fight, we saw that it finally manifested itself. So only time will tell. Right now, let's take a look at Mexico's first ever cruiserweight world champion, Zurdo Ramirez, and see what he's been up to in his career. Zurdo Ramirez is 48-1. Of his 48 wins, 30 of them come by way of knockout. He's the number 2 ranked cruiserweight in the world. He's fought a career total of 313 pro rounds and carries in the ring a 63% career knockout to win ratio. He is the WBO World Cruiser World Champion. He was born Gilbert Ramirez Sanchez, but his adoring fans know him as Zurdo, and the 34-year-old Mexican fighter is a 6'3" southpaw with a 75-inch reach. He was born and raised and lives in Mazatlan, Sinaloa, Mexico. We last saw him fight Uniel Dorticos, 27-2, won a UD in the 12th. Chris Billum Smith, 20-1, won a UD in the 12th. Gulamaran, 27-0, won a UD in the 12th. Joe Smith Jr., 28-4, won a UD in the 10th. Back in 2022, he suffered his only defeat to Dimitri Bivol, who was 20-0. He lost a decision in the 12th. He's gone undefeated since. Anybody against Dimitri Bivol, you're going to have your hands full. Zurdo was rocked in that fight. He didn't get dropped. It's probably the most hurt you'll see Zurdo Ramirez. He doesn't have the biggest power. He doesn't have the best hand speed. He doesn't have the best feet. But overall, he takes what he has. He takes his size. He takes his experience. And he does a lot of things really well. He's a tough night at the office. He's going to be there in David Benavidez's face. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to try to back who up. You got to think it's going to be Benavidez. I actually give Zurdo the footwork advantage, the classiness of the footwork, the angles, how he can move off of a line, and how technical his feet are. Benavidez doesn't have the best footwork. Where his feet lack, he makes up in hand speed and relentless pressure. The stylistic matchup, orthodox versus southpaw, the light heavy moving up to cruiser, Cinco de Mayo weekend. This fight has a lot of boxing fans, both true blue and casuals, excited. Before I get into the current Las Vegas odds and give you my prediction, I want to remind everybody, guys, I do live streams every single day. In those live streams, I take your questions. We go over prop bets, my long parlays, our underdogs of the week. In these Stats Don't Lie videos, I'm only going to give you my money line prediction. All right, guys, wherever you are in the world, let's pull out our betting apps. And currently, David Benavidez on the money line is a $1.28 favorite, meaning you put 100 on Benavidez, you get your money back plus 28 bucks. Gilbert Ramirez is a $4.10 dog, meaning you put 100 bucks on Gilbert Ramirez, you get your money back plus $310. Guys, I recently did a poll on my Instagram. If you're not following my Instagram, just go to Johnny Stofko. You can take part in these interactive polls. Over 2,000 people voted when I asked who was going to win Benavidez versus Gilbert, and 95% of the people picked David Benavidez. He is a 3-1 favorite. I think those odds are a little bit wide. I definitely think the 95% of people think that he's going to win is super disrespectful. Do I feel that people are sleeping on Zurdo? 100%. A big natural southpaw, a cruiserweight, who's a champion, who only has one loss, who's never been hurt, never been dropped, never been stopped, is a dangerous proposition, especially against a 29-year-old who's coming up to a bigger new division. I feel Benavidez is going to have more questions to answer than Zurdo, and especially the longer this fight goes, I think it's going to get really, really interesting. Right now on the money line, I will not be dog hunting. I'm sticking to my guns with David Benavidez. I think he's special. I think he's one of those ones. He's definitely grown on me. I wasn't one of these guys 3 years ago who was on the bandwagon talking about he was an all-time great. But as I've watched him maneuver the waters of light heavyweight and watch what he did to Anthony Yarde and how he's kind of operating since he got past kind of trolling Canelo of all those years wanting to fight Canelo, I'm kind of becoming a believer. His hand speed, his willingness to be in a dogfight, the mindset, the mentality, all of those things, he ticks those boxes for me. So right now I got Benny on the money line. In the comment section below, this is not an echo chamber. Let me know if you disagree. Maybe you like Zurdo. Let it be known so we can have proof, receipts, and evidence. Also stay tuned, guys. Join the Discord. Become a JSP Insider. I just gave you a prop parlay ticket with a method of victory with Benavidez on it that pays plus 450. So be sure to join our JSP Insider Discord and stay tuned to the next video. Guys, if you haven't watched my breakdown, analysis, and prediction of another massive world title fight, this time in Tokyo, Japan, with Inoue, and Junto Nakatani, stay tuned to the channel because that's coming up right now. What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning this weekend's undisputed world title fight at 122 pounds in Tokyo, Japan, between the undisputed champion Inoue and the challenger Junto Nakatani. Before I continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, could you please remember to like this video? Could you also subscribe? Down at the bottom of your screen, pinned in the comment section, is a link to join our world famous Johnny Says boxing betting Discord. It's a couple bucks a month. Click the link to learn more. We are a growing community. Shout out to all the JSP Insiders as we approach our 500th VIP. All right, guys, this is one that has been marked on the Fight Fans calendar for a long time. It went from conversation to hypothetical to now it is going down. We last saw both men, Inoue and Nakatani, on the same card at the end of December in 2025. Both got through their tough fights, and here we are. It's interesting to talk a little bit about, though, how fickle the boxing fan base can be. Is it safe to say that some of the luster from the casual fan base was removed due to Nakatani's last performance? Probably so. For all the true blue boxing fans, the ones who are in the know, the excitement is still at a fever pitch. This one has been on our radar for a long time. So in this video, what we're going to do is break down both fighters' careers. I'm going to talk a little bit about how they go about their business, and stay tuned. Like always, at the very end, we're going to go over those current Las Vegas odds, and I'll be giving you my prediction, telling you where to put your money. Junto Nakatani is an undefeated, tall, rangy southpaw who likes to fight at range and in the pocket. If you ask me, I feel he does his best work at distance. We last saw him in a really tough fight against a guy who's equally as tall as him in Sebastian Logan Hernandez. He won a decision, interesting enough, on those scorecards. Two of the judges had it 115 to 113. I know going into that fight, a lot of people were playing the knockout prop. So sometimes when the odds are a certain way and the fight ends a certain way, people say it was a tough fight. It was a bad fight. It was a bad performance. We have to remember that was Junto's first fight going up to 122. This is a guy who was cutting his teeth over the last few years at 118. We watched him come up from 115, and we see it time and time again when fighters enter a new weight class, it sometimes takes them a few fights to get comfortable. Think about when David Benavidez went from super middleweight to light heavyweight. He had that fight with Vosdick, and it took him a few fights to get his feet until he finally stopped Anthony Yarde. With Junto Nakatani, this is a guy who does a lot of things really well. He wants to set you up. He wants to walk you onto shots. He has that atypical Japanese spirit. We know he's been trained in the United States, so he brings this sort of fusion Mexican style to his game. He is there to get hit, but he wants to hit you equally as much. An interesting thing to pay attention though, guys, going into this fight and as this fight heats up, is the swelling on the eye of Nakatani. We saw it blow up against Hernandez, and that fight was only a few months back. It's just something to think about. We know in his opponent, the undefeated pound-for-pound generational great, Naoya Inoue, he loves a firefight. We've seen this guy multiple times pick himself up off of the canvas in firefights, get knocked down, get back up, and win by knockout. The two fights I'm talking, Luis Nery and Ramon Cardenas. We know he's undefeated. This guy's knockout to win ratio speaks for itself. A stat that I like throwing around that sometimes gets sort of overlooked is the fact that when you look at Naoya Inoue's entire career, when you watch the weight classes that he came up from and everything that makes him the great at 122, this guy's been fighting for world titles since his 6th pro fight. So he was made for this. He was bred for this. And come Saturday night, the 60,000 plus fans in the Tokyo Superdome will be going absolutely insane for both of their countrymen. This is why we're extremely excited about it. When you think about how these guys are going to mesh, we know Nakatani's about 5'8". We know Inoue's about 5'5". It's going to probably be a feeling out process for a little bit, but as soon as each guy feels that they find their range, expect an absolute fire fight. Right now, I do want to take a closer look at the man coming up from 118. This will be his second fight at 122, Junto Nakatani, and see what he's been up to in his career. Guys, Junto Nakatani is 32-0 with 24 knockouts. Out of 1,490 fighters ranked in the world at super bantamweight, he's ranked number 2. He's fought a career total of 164 pro rounds and carries in the ring a 75% career knockout to win ratio. His adoring fans know him as Big Bang, and the 28-year-old Japanese fighter is a 5'8" southpaw with a 68-inch reach. He was born in Inoue, Mie, Japan, but calls Sagamihara, Kanagawa, Japan home. We last saw him fight Sebastian Hernandez, 20-0, won a UD in the 12th. Nishida, 10-0, stopped him in the 6th. Contreras, 28-0, stopped him in the 3rd. Salapat, 76-1, stopped him in the 6th. Astrolabio, 19-4, stopped him in the 1st. With a guy like Junto Nakatani, Big Bang, a lot of hype comes about him. You don't see a lot of 5'8" southpaws who are knockout artists coming up from the lighter divisions. And sometimes when you have a knockout to win ratio that's so high, you can have a performance that might not be as bad as people think it is, but because Junto didn't win by knockout, people are all of a sudden questioning him and questioning his ability. Like I said, that last fight against Sebastian, it was one of the few fights in which he wasn't having and controlling a massive height advantage. He didn't have a massive reach advantage, and it was also the biggest guy he had ever fought. First fight at 122, and a guy who was equally as tall as him. It took him a while to figure things out. He was getting hit a lot, but he was dishing out equally as much as he was getting. And at the end of the day, he did win a decision. He took some damage. The swelling on the eye was evident. What he does at best is control range. When he's using his jab and he's walking his opponents onto his backhand, I like his uppercut at range. He likes to fight in the pocket, and he's good all around. His durability is there. He's undefeated for a reason, and he has a high knockout to win ratio. He's going to be paired up against the best fighter he has ever faced. The arsenal that Naoya Inoue brings into the ring not only is speed and power, but sort of an unmatched spirit of willingness and a wantingness to engage in a war. Both guys are coming off decision victories. We haven't seen Inoue get a stoppage in a few fights, so that's something to think about as well for all you prop bettors. We will get to those props and the money line odds shortly, but before we do that, let's take a look at the monster Naoya Inoue and see what he's been up to in his career. Inoue is 32-0 with 27 knockouts. Out of 1,490 fighters ranked in the world at 122, he's ranked number 1. His adoring fans know him as the monster, and he is the undisputed world super bantamweight champion. He carries in the ring an 84% career knockout to win ratio, and he's fought a career total of 205 rounds. His adoring fans know him as the monster, and the 33-year-old Japanese fighter is a 5'5" orthodox fighter with a 67-inch reach. He was born in Zama, Kanagawa, Japan, but calls Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan home. We last saw him fight David Picasso, 32-0, UD in the 12th. MJ, 14-1, UD in the 12th. Ramon Cardenas, 26-1, stopped him in the 8th. Ijun Kim, 21-2, stopped him in the 4th. TJ Devinhaney, 26-4, stopped him in the 7th. When you look at Inoue's record, in 2 fights before that, he knocked out Luis Nery, a fight in which he had to pick himself off the canvas, and then he won by exciting knockout, and then Marlon Tabolas. The resume speaks for itself. How long he's been at the top of the mountain speaks for itself. At 33 years old, the knock on Inoue is like, will he get old overnight? Will this be the fight in which we start seeing the degradation of the style, the speed slow a little bit? We've already seen him win back-to-back fights by decision, not by knockout, the MJ fight and the Alan Picasso fight. So people are already kind of whispering, is that power gone? He's not the same guy at 122 as he was at 118. The guy is undefeated. The guy is one of the most feared punchers in the lower weight classes, and he is a living legend. This is an iconic fighter of all time, in my opinion, of the lighter weight classes, and he's going to get another awesome opportunity come Saturday night in Japan to remind people why they call him the monster. Guys, before I get into the current odds, remember, in these Stats Don't Lie videos, you're only going to get my money line prediction. Make sure you turn on the notification button for my channel so you never miss one of my world famous daily betting boxing live streams. We have a ton of action this week. We have the fight card in 24 hours in Australia, headlined by Sky Nicholson and Mariah Turner. I'll be giving you all of my picks on that. There's a Pro Box card, there's a UK card, and there's fights everywhere internationally. Catch the live streams to get all my bets, and more importantly, to get my tickets, my props, my parlays, and become part of our community. Click the link that's pinned in the comment section below. All right, guys, wherever you are in the world, let's pull out our betting apps. Currently on the money line, Inoue is a $1.27 favorite, meaning you put 100 on Inoue, you get your money back plus 27 bucks. Junto Nakatani is a $4.20 dog, meaning you put 100 on Junto, you get your money back plus $320. Guys, I recently did a poll on my Instagram. Another thing is, if you're not following me on the IG, do that. Follow Johnny Stofko. You can take part in all these polls. Over 2,000 people voted, and 88% of the fan poll on Instagram is picking Inoue, to only 12% picking Junto Nakatani. Seeing Junto as more than a 3-to-1 dog is pretty insane, considering how dominant he has been throughout his career. He's been one of my favorite fighters over the last 5 or so years to watch him evolve, to watch him come up from weight classes. His style is fun, tall, rangy southpaw who could crack. He's always in an exciting fight. In his opponent, Inoue, he's just happening to be going against an icon, a guy that I think 20 years from now, boxing fans will remember and still talk about. I think the odds may be a little bit disrespectful, but I am going with the favorite. I think Inoue is going to continue on his career-defining, iconic legacy and remain undefeated. I can't wait to hear that crowd in Tokyo. And you know, both guys being Japanese, this is a superstar, once-in-a-lifetime fight with 2 kings of Japanese boxing. I think that samurai spirit will be on full display. I'm going on the money line currently, but stay tuned to my live streams and join the Discord to get my props so you can find out if I'm picking points or knockout. Also, guys, stay tuned to the channel. Like I said earlier, we have fights all around the board. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.